And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome to Open Connection. I'm your host, Robert Pictou. Our show today comes to you from the traditional and unceded territory of the Tsimshian people. The math of famine in Gaza is straightforward. Palestinians are unable to leave. The war has devastated agriculture, and Israel has prohibited fishing, meaning that nearly every single calorie consumed by the population must be imported from elsewhere. Local terror site Bill Booth discusses the origin of the concept of a fundraising dinner on today's Open Connection.
I can remember back in 1974 at my high school graduation, someone talking about the issue, and I was getting worked up because of what he was saying. So it goes back with me a long time. What's going on in Gaza is beyond belief. It boggles the mind that so many politicians in my home country, the U.S., Canada, and elsewhere, don't seem to get it. Like I said, thousands of trucks there just waiting to go across. They aren't going across because of Israel and because of Israel's support in stopping the aid from U.S., Canada, and other countries. That's the problem that we have to address. Now, how this started was I had the idea of dramatizing how little the Palestinians had to eat compared to someone here in Terrace, for example. You know, we would have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, over 2,000 calories, most people, unless they're elderly or something, maybe 2,300 or so, versus 200 or 300. You have 3 dishes on one side and one small can of fava beans, for the other. If they're lucky, they don't always get that much. Very thin lentil soup or something, and sometimes the parents are saving food for the children. More than half the population in Gaza, children under 18, and the parents, often young people, relatively young parents themselves, are doing without because they want to make sure their children have enough to eat. And people are getting weak and people are dying. So you compound that with the fact that they have no potable water, no shelter, no medical care, and they're always worrying about those quadricopters overhead that might decide, for whatever reason, to kill them. I doubt there's a person in Gaza that hasn't lost multiple loved ones. Israel has a certain idea of a ceasefire. A ceasefire for them is when the other side stops shooting. And they have not opened the floodgates to get the aid in at all. And they won't unless other countries pressure them to do so. Even the so-called left in Israel doesn't care what happens to the Palestinians. Although they don't like Netanyahu, they're not anxious for any of the pressure to be let up on them. So the pressure has to come from without. The countries, the U.S. especially, the U.S. is the one, that's always protecting Israel in the UN and is providing most of the weapons, but Canada has its share. They haven't stopped sending arms and doing other things. Also, UK and countries in the EU, the pressure has to come from without. Unless it does, Israel won't let up. There has to be a political will to make Israel let it in. And the best thing that we can do, people living in Terrace, is get in touch with Mr. Ellis's office and let them know that we want him to speak out on this in favor of letting that aid go through and embargoing weapons and other things to Israel if they don't. Again, of course, the U.S. is the main actor here, but we can do what we can do. If Canada speaks up, years ago, I remember the push for sanctions against South Africa, and one country at a time. Until at one point, I think maybe the U.S., whatever, was the last holdout. And finally, when that, stopped, the sanctions came through. It wasn't long after that the apartheid came to an end. It seems so difficult now, but if there's enough will, if Canada speaks out, maybe other countries will too. And maybe the U.S. will feel pressure when it's isolated protecting Israel. We can pray and we can hope that that can happen. If it happened with South Africa, South Africa, of course, is taking the lead in pushing for international sanctions and whatnot. And I think that's impressive. One of the unfortunate things that's happened is that the idea of international norms has really been under pressure here. It really kind of looks like the U.S. and its allies are saying that norms don't apply to Israel.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Thanks for staying with us. Many experts agree that fascism is a mass political movement that emphasizes extreme nationalism, militarism, and the supremacy of a nation over an individual. This model of government stands in contrast to liberal democracies that support individual rights, competitive elections, and political dissent. Let us return the conversation with Bill.
Nowadays, especially in the U.S., they talk a lot about fascism. But to my mind, if someone isn't really active in supporting the Palestinian people, the ultimate end of fascism is to do what Israel is doing, to slaughter people, destroy their homes. Their goal is to get, and I've actually seen a video of Israeli settler types on the border or off on the shores, enjoying the bombs dropping, because they're eating and drinking, whatever. They're hoping to go in there and get rid of the Palestinians one way or another, and set up settlements there, as they are doing in the West Bank. They're driving out people, killing people, destroying their homes, forcing them out. They're doing, it's ethnic cleansing. It's sheer brutality beyond belief. Snipers shooting little babies and children, and pregnant women. Pregnant women often have to go miles while in labor to get treatment, and they're always risking. These snipers decide, well, she looks like a good target. That's what they do. It's unimaginable, but you don't have to imagine, because it's happening. Politicians as well as soldiers say there are no innocent people in Gaza. As far as they're concerned, they're all Hamas. Israel's own, and it was leaked, it was a secret document, saying that only 8,000 or 9,000 of those killed, and they estimate that over 100,000 have been killed. Only 8,000 or 9,000 are Hamas. Their own figures say that. Plus, we don't know how many hundreds of thousands have died because of lack of medical care, lack of shelter, and other things. Because Gaza, just like anywhere else, they have people who need chemotherapy, who need treatment for heart ailments, for dialysis, or whatever else, and they can't get it because the hospitals have been destroyed. There was that infamous incident early on in the war on Gaza, where babies were on incubators, and the Israelis forced the hospital staff out and disconnected the power. Israel has tried to dehumanize these people for decades and decades and decades, going back before independence. Dehumanize them. Their slogan, the slogan of the Zionist movement was a land without people for people without a land. Well, guess what? It wasn't never a land without people, going back thousands of years. There were always people there. But with the support of the West, a colonizing effort took place, and these people were forced out of their homes. 15,000 were killed in the 47-48 war, and 750,000 were forced from their homes, and many of them had been living in Gaza as well as in Lebanon and other places. And Israel won't be content till the entire area, Greater Israel, Judea and Samaria, as they call it. Who knows how big an area they want for their own without Palestinians in there. For example, I was just reading something the other day where they had surreptitiously interviewed this Israeli sniper. It was an officer was interviewed, and he was saying that They destroyed this apartment complex, okay? And he said, we probably wouldn't have done it if we thought that Israeli children were in there. But because they were Palestinian. You know, and you destroy a apartment complex, there's 75, 100 people probably in that complex. And they destroy it just for the sake of the possibility that there might be one Hamas militant in there, that there might be one. So babies have to die because they want to satisfy. Netanyahu, from what I understand, is the one pushing it most of all. His military commander saying, no, let's tone it down. We don't want to kill so many civilians. And he kept pushing them to kill more and more. And the people in his government are of the same mind.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Welcome back to Open Connection. Since October 2023, countless children have lost their lives and many more have been hurt in the Gaza Strip. This crisis has resulted in nearly 1.9 million individuals, roughly 90% of Gaza's population, being displaced within their own territory. Let us return the conversation as Valencia shares information about the fundraising dinner aimed at raising awareness for Gaza.
One of our local Palestinian friends in town, Mo Kesba, offered to cook a whole meal, and he said they were up to the task of doing that, so we sort of pivoted to this fundraising dinner. It's a fundraising, mutual aid, and just solidarity dinner. And education are the main points. So we want to bring people together to educate and learn about the history of the conflict and kind of put a personal spin on it through home-cooked food and hearing Mo's story and more stories of people in Palestine that have been, living under occupation for 70 years. We're ready to step in as a community where we feel like our governments have failed or they're not listening to the calls that we've been trying to petition our governments to take seriously the issue and what we believe to be a genocide and what the International Court of Justice has recently ruled is very probable a genocide, and they have taken steps towards that. So it's just important for us to not forget about the issue, especially with the ceasefire sort of arrangement that's been announced. I think a lot of people want to think that this issue is being resolved, but in reality, it's really far from that. And the Palestinian people are in really dire need of aid still, medical equipment, heavy equipment, and food, so that's not getting through enough. A lot of us weren't very optimistic, I guess, about the sustainability of that arrangement. And since then, I think it's been proven that it's very precarious and volatile, and it really remains to be seen where things will go. I think in terms of feeling like, did our advocacy have an impact on that? That's really hard to say. I mean, I wish I could say that it did. I think our advocacy and protest and just, maintaining a presence around the cause has helped in indirect ways, and it's certainly made it more of an issue in the community, and it's allowed us to form networks of solidarity and mutual aid where there weren't before. So I think that's been a real positive. But that's, your question kind of goes, I think, to one of the main issues with this whole conflict, which is that people on the ground, voters, don't feel like we have a lot of say on the issue, and that these big deals, the ceasefire, the developments that are going on in Palestine are just dictated by the powers that be, and we have very little input on it. So I think that is the case, that the ceasefire arrangement and the plans for Gaza and the redevelopment of the Gaza Riviera and all these, big movements, they do feel very far away at times, and that can be really discouraging and often does cause people to sort of check out and step back and feel hopeless and think, what can I do? It doesn't matter if I stand up. I mean, a lot of the politicians might say like, thank you for your letter, and I hear you and I see you, and then that's kind of the end of it. But I will say that's also why I feel like this dinner is important, and it's a good reminder that we still can make a difference on a community and micro level as well, through pooling our resources and just showing up in solidarity and community with each other, and really to step up and step in where we don't feel like the governments have lived up to their obligations either. So we haven't received a response from the MP's office, but we will keep raising the issue. And in terms of the grassroots, though, the community support it's really been like a night and day difference. We always encounter so much support and a lot of gratitude as well. I would say people are very happy that there are people in the community that are willing to raise their voice about this, right, in any kind of capacity. And the feedback to the community dinner has been exciting as well. And that's been really nice in this case, that we can bring so many different parts of the community together to support and create this event. So we've had donations from regional artists and artisans. Yeah, and so we're gonna be hosting a silent auction as well. So we've got 5 different artists ranging from Yukon, Kitimat, Terrace, Haida Gwaii, and we have some gift cards from local small businesses as well. And the food is all being cooked by local Palestinian residents and volunteers, and none of the organizers are being reimbursed. We've had the venue kindly waive the fee and things like this. So there's been a lot of stepping in and supporting and pooling of resources, like I said. So everybody's doing what they can and trying to create a sort of communal collective action that's going to have some material benefit to the folks in Gaza.
Open Connection will be right back after these messages. And now, from the CFTK-TV studios, this is Open Connection with your host, Robert Pictou.
Recognized as Palestine's national dish, Musahan is enjoyed as both street food and during celebrations. It beautifully embodies Palestinian culture. The term Musahan translates to warmed in Arabic, symbolizing the warmth of its ingredients and the hospitality of the region. In this final segment of Open Connection, we discover how you can sample this regional dish locally.
My parents there, they've been more depressed because they lived in Palestine, and watching the people just get massacred, it's a sad thing to watch. So, everybody has a capacity to help in the way they can. So the way I'm helping is organizing this fundraising dinner, and hopefully that can, raise some funds to help the people of Palestine. It's a very limited action, but it's better than doing nothing. The ceasefire is good news, of course, but the reality is 60,000 plus people have been killed, mostly women and children. And who knows how many thousands have lost their, arms, legs. And there is a ceasefire, but the damage has already been done, And if you look at Gaza, it's been leveled completely. So, okay, there's a ceasefire, but after what? After Gaza has been wiped out, pretty much. And so whoever's living in Gaza has to build their whole life from scratch. The majority have lost their homes, have lost all their, wealth, all their life savings. So to start from scratch, that's not easy to do, But the ceasefire is just a glimmer of hope, we'll say, to something that could, build on that for something better. So a lot of these recipes are passed down from generation to generation. So my grandparents passed these recipes to my mom. My mom passed these recipes to me, and then my great grandma. So it just passed down. This same recipes gets passed down from generation to generation. So what we're doing is we just want to give a taste of Palestine to the people. So we have the tabbouleh salad, and that's parsley with all the vegetables in olive oil, and that's a really healthy salad. Then we have it's called musakhan. It's like chicken with summag and red onions, and that's cooked with a pomegranate, dip on it too. And that's a pretty common dish back home. Then we have the qidra dish. That's rice with a goat with the chickpeas and ghee, and that's another common dish. And then of course you have the appetizers, the hummus, the lentil soup. And then we have the dessert, which is baklava, and that's going to be all freshly made. Yeah.
Great. I hope I'm here.
It's just,
The nuggets taste well.
yeah, and then the grape leaves. So the best one is the grape leaves. That takes the longest time to do because you have to roll every single one. So that's going to take time, but I say the best dish we're going to have is the grape leaves, the stuffed, and that's going to be freshly made and with with lamb meat in the bottom too. That's the objective.
Right.
So we're just doing what we can to raise as much money as possible, and that money will go to the UNICEF, and they're like pretty much on the ground and helping the people. So whatever money we can raise, even if it's a little, it's going to help because every dollar counts over there, because people have nothing and are starting from scratch. And there's maybe like 50 billion, they did an estimate that maybe around $50 billion that's needed to rebuild Gaza. Maybe it's more than that. We're not going to raise that much, of course, but that little amount we're going to raise, it's, a good start to do something, My final word is, okay, like we're helping the people of Palestine, and we're doing what we can to help them with our knowledge and skills and abilities. But there is killing and oppression happening all over the world. So, okay, it's nice to help the people of Palestine. We should also help people of Sudan, people of Yemen, and wherever there's oppression happening in the world. And our goal is just to do something that will make the world a better place.
Next huddle in the corner of my room, trying to protect my little brother as the building shakes like it's possessed, but nothing stronger than the will of the oppressed. I bomb back with my lyrics and rhymes, living the times trying to break the Palestinian minds. What's hiding in the clouds hanging over my head? My dad risks his life outside to buy bread. The fourth war in my 12th year. At this stage I'm numb, though I haven't feel scared. There's nothing I can do in this case to stay safe. I'm brave, even though this house could be in my grave. I want freedom for the population. 2 million prisoners living in this location, shouting at the wall, but nothing is ever changing. That's life under an occupation.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Open Connection. The greatest distance in the existence of man is not from here to there, but the connection from his mind and heart. If we can conquer that distance, we can soar like an eagle and realize our immensity within. I'm Robert Pictou.